Greetings, this is Bradford Donald Keller Townsend, and this is a forward research report. I'm going to tie together morphic resonance, plasmonics, and Jewish mysticism. First, I'd like to start the discussion, or the video, with an article. It's in the engineering section by Javier-Garcia Martinez, Finding Toxins with Plasmonics, Light-Activated Nanomaterials are Revolutionizing Sensors. Writing in Scientific American in 2007, Harry A. Atwater of the California Institute of Technology predicted that a technology he called Plasmonics, spelled Plasmonics, Plasmonics, could eventually lead to an array of applications, from highly sensitive biological detectors to invisibility cloaks. A decade later, plasmonic technologies are a commercial reality, and others are transitioning from the laboratory to the market. These technologies all rely on controlling the interaction between an electromagnetic field and the free electrons in a metal, typically gold or silver, that account for the metal's conductivity and optical properties. Free electrons on a metal's surface oscillate collectively when hit by light, forming what is known as surface plasmon. When a piece of metal is large, the free electrons reflect the light that hits them, giving the material its shine. But when a metal measures just a few nanometers, its free electrons are confirmed in a very small space, limiting the frequency at which they can vibrate. The specific frequency of the oscillation depends on the size of the metal nanoparticle. In a phenomenon called resonance, the plasmon absorbs only the fraction of incoming light that oscillates at the same frequency as plasmon itself does, reflecting the rest of the light. This surface plasmon resonance can be exploited to create nano antennas, efficient solar cells, and other useful devices. One of the best studied applications of plasmonic materials is sensors for detecting chemical and biological agents. In one approach, researchers coat plasmonic nanomaterial with a substance that binds to a molecule of interest, say, a bacterial toxin. In the absence of the toxin, light shining on the material is re-emitted at a specific angle. But if the toxin is present, it will alter the frequency of the surface plasmon and consequently the angle of the reflected light. This effect can be measured with great accuracy, enabling even trace amounts of the toxin to be detected and measured. Several startups are developing products based on this and related approaches. Among them, an internal sensor for batteries that allows their activity to be monitored to assist in increasing power density and change rate, and a device that can distinguish viral from bacterial infections. Plasmonics is also working its way into magnetic memory storage on disks. For instance, heat-assisted magnetic recording devices increase memory storage by momentarily heating tiny spots on a disk during writing. In the medical field, light-activated nanoparticles are being tested in clinical trials for their ability to treat cancer. That's big, treat cancer. Nanoparticles are infused into the blood, after which they concentrate inside a tumor. Then light of the same frequency as the surface plasmon is shown into the mass, causing the particles to heat by resonance. The heat selectively kills the cancer cells in the tumor without hurting surrounding healthy tissue. As new companies emerge to take advantage of plasmonics, they will need to ensure that their products are reasonably priced, reliable, robust, and easy to fabricate at large scale and integrate with other components. Despite these challenges, the prospects look bright. The advent of metamaterials, synthetic nanoscience, materials in which plasmons generate unusual optical effects, has enabled plasmonics researchers to use materials other than gold and silver, such as graphene and semiconductors. An analysis from Future Market Insights predicts that the value of the North American market for plasmonic sensor applications alone will grow from nearly $250 million in 1917 to $470 million by 2027. And morphic resonance concept by Rupert Sheldrake. He demonstrates quite conclusively that there are simple organisms that are able to repair organs or to split in half and that type of thing without access to DNA and RNA and that type of information. So there's something else there, and he calls that the genetic morphic resonance field. So if you have, let's say, a single-celled organism, it could have nearly identical DNA, or actually identical DNA, and then have 100 different shapes, and that those are different species, and they don't the DNA isn't what makes them a different species or a different genus. It is the morphic resonance is the explanation, and it seems to be gaining a lot of ground in the scientific community, and there have been many experiments successfully conducted supporting morphic resonance, and these are getting into the multiple hundreds, not just 200 or 300, maybe even over 1,000 by now. I don't follow it on a regular basis. And then we get into Jewish mysticism. You have the Torah, and that's the books of Moses. There's 5 of them. Then there's the Tanakh, and that's the prophet, the poetry books, the wisdom books in there. And then you have the Talmud, and you have the Zohar. And in the commentary and just in the text itself of the Torah, God is similar to a morphic resonance field of pretty much an infinite magnitude that is able to control matter at the energetic level, and when it is at the smallest waveform, because E equals mc squared, and c squared is the speed of light. I think it's roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. I could be wrong, I'm not using notes. And then mass, the standard unit's kilogram, so you could take 300,000 times 300,000 times 1,000 grams and then that would give you what the definition of E in a way. I mean, I don't think that's what they use as energy. I think the simple definition is the ability to do work. But all matter comes down to subatomic particles that are vibrating, So if you can penetrate in and control the vibrations of subatomic particles, you could, in theory, rearrange them and reset their frequencies, if you had that knowledge and capability, and manipulate existence and creation. And then you would be Hashem, which translates best into English in my humble opinion as the creator. So that's as I studied the Zohar and Talmud before I studied modern physics. I'd already had mechanical physics and nuclear physics, but I hadn't really delved into quantum mechanics and general relativity and special relativity and those subjects. And as I moved more into that, I was like, well, this just seems like it's the Zohar and the Talmud commentary type mystical insights or spiritual. And if you want to, you could replace spiritual with fields or fields that have form. They're morphic fields. That's a spirit could be a morphic field. Our soul could be our nervous system and entire body, as it's all interconnected and works together, and the field that it forms, and their existing morphic fields, then they in turn change maybe your personality, behavior, and even the look and structure of your body. Maybe if you had athletic parents, that kind of morphic field of athleticism and being active and playing sports, tennis and swimming and jogging, running in races and just for charity, like 10Ks and things like that. If then they were regularly running and swimming and being active, it's not only their behavior, they could be setting a different type of electromagnetic flux around their body, or streams or flow. They have the solar wind. I mean, all these are analogies, and you can take a magnet, and little medical shards, or like you did maybe even all the way back in kindergarten, and they showed you the magnetic fields of a bar magnet by sprinkling the metallic powder. Well, that's your body, which is centered around your heart magnetically, puts out a two torus type field connecting, and that's where a lot of the Eastern mysticism and spirituality. And again, you can take a lot of the words from the Zohar, from some of the Eastern religions, Hinduism and Buddhism and such, and you can just change some of the terms and use a more a today popular science term, like field or flux, and memory, and you can come up with the same concepts. So it seems like a lot of modern science is kind of plagiarizing Jewish mysticism to me, or Eastern mysticism. That's all I have. Thank you very much, and au revoir. This has been a Forward Research Report. Farewell and goodbye. Leve wohl und auf Wiedersehen. Adieu et au revoir.